Hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome to the first ever Intra-Alliance tournament where we can expect to see some glorious explosions, mayhem and all-out spaceship violence in the coming hour. For those of you unfamiliar with the setup, each team has a captain who's been given only 5 days to not only handpick a select group of 4 other players, but also set up a trio of completely unique compositions within a points constraint system, which they hope will be able to crush the opposition. The victor will be decided by the winner of 3 games, with each being decided by the team that destroys the most enemy points worth of ships in a brawl where the only rules are stay on grid. And they're not just fighting for honour, with a prize pool of over 2 billion ISK to the winning team, and a bet between the captains who've wagered a pirate battleship on their own success. So without further ado, let's take a look at the setups that have been brought to the first match. Thunder in the red team has decided to bring a Sacrilege and Astarte based setup that looks as if it's going to be based around brawling. I would expect them to have brought some manner of damps and other support evil to force in the enemy team, who has brought a rather interesting rattlesnake focused kiting composition with double Keres as support.
Yep.
We are
And immediately here we can see both teams starting to move towards, well, the brawling team of the red team of Thunder is beginning to move towards the rattlesnake. And here we can see damps going out immediately across the enemy team from the caracals and Kereses. It appears that the rattlesnake is obviously taking a large amount of damage. With the Sacrilege of Thunder going in deep here. You can see a small support fight with Republikov in the tower taking heavy fire from both caracals. It appears to be that they are trying to take him off grid as soon as possible to reduce the incoming DPS on their rattlesnake, who appears to be buffer tank. And down goes the tower of Republikov. Here we can see all of the fleet taking heavy fire from hams, but there seems to be no real focus from the red team, with both Solander in the Caracal and Popetown in the Rattlesnake having taken large amounts of damage, but none of them coming close to breaking currently. You can see AMO in the Tristan here, kiting off and providing support for the rest of the fleet, although he is currently under tackle from a large amount of drones. Patrick Motor appears to be the primary now. See Cylinder apparently fielding an active tank on her Caracal, as she is attempting to kite away from the main force of the red team. It's rather interesting to see. And down she goes, actually, under the combined fire, with a Patrick Malta in half armor. That's a good trade for the blue team, as losing a Caracal whose primary focus is going to be anti-support to simply taking about half the way through Patrick before reps land is relatively good for the red team. As their DPS will be relatively uninterrupted from this. It's interesting to note how little of an impact the carriers seem to have had so far in the fight, with the counter-damping from the sacrileges being able to keep them relatively close in, and then being forced back out again by the superior DPS of the sacrileges. Oh, but Patrick Malta is taking huge damage here. It appears the rattlesnake may. It appears one of the carriers might have actually been able to grab some form of tackle upon him, which would allow the rattlesnake to apply its damage much easier to the very low signature hull. Here we can see Cubic taking a little bit of damage from the Tristan of the opposing team. As they continue to focus down the sacrilege. Carriers of Cubic has to be careful here as he's entering near the edge of the arena itself. However, it looks like he's going to be killed by the Tristan before that can even go down. And Patrick continues to just honour tank, still bearing the remnants of the earlier fight in his hull. Fire appears to have gone back onto Pope Town again, but to little avail, as his local tank is incredibly strong. And Patrick continues to take a beating. God, that is painstakingly close. Oh, 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 hanging in there by the tiniest of threads, Patrick. As the Kerries also makes a dash for glory, barely surviving. Is he gonna... Oh, and the Kerries finally goes down. DPS is kept up on Patrick. It appears that the local tank is just barely enough to keep him alive as they keep their as the red team turns their focus to the other carries, attempting to reduce more DPS from the field. And there he goes, leaving only the rattlesnake left. With only 3 minutes left in the match, it's going to be interesting to see if they can finish out the one remaining member of the crew, which is Pope Town's rattlesnake. All in all, that was a very decisive victory for the red team, with their anti-support in AMO being able to utterly ruin the carries'.
Global EC out of the arena.
So yeah, we're just going to be here seeing if the Pope Town's active tank can hold up to the remaining 4 members of the enemy team. That's a very interesting composition brought today by Thunder. And I only hope that the next one will be just as interesting. Yeah, and it appears to have been that rather than a truly active tank, the sacrileges have used their large drone bays to bring large flights of medium armor maintenance bots, which have kept themselves alive throughout the vast majority of the fight, which is an innovative strategy that we saw used last Alliance tournament, primarily with shield repping thoraxes actually. And it does look to be that the Rattlesnake of Popetown will survive just due to time limits here. But all in all, it looks to have been a victory, and a very clear one for the red team. And Patrick is still taking quite heavy damage, but I don't think it's going to be a problem now. And there we are. It appears he's run out of the Hopetown's Rattlesnake has run out of charges. It's only going to be a matter of time now before the ASB finally fails and his buffer tank wears down. And of course, commentator's curse, as I say that, he dips into 3/4 armor. And starts repping back up again. And here we see the Tristan of AMO doing a victory lap around the arena. And it looks like he is going to survive. And you can cut the recording here. We're going to go and have a short break now to reset the teams and get the compositions for the next time ready. That was really that was a really interesting fight, actually.
Yeah, and Popton MJ'd. Did you see that?
I did not, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's why I didn't die.
Ah.
We can go look.
I died.